is great. If you remember Mawla for even for a second, that second has more value than the whole life which is not remembered. So please recite a loud salawat from my Mawla, inshallah. So I begin by thanking both of the hosting Imam Bargahs, Markazi Imam Bargah Al Murtaza in Houston, Texas, USA, and Zenabia Imam Bargah in San Antonio, Texas, USA, for their efforts in arranging the remembrance of Mawla Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept their efforts. Our topic of Islamic Gnosis, Islamic Ma'rifah is continued, and today we are entering into the 7th stage of our topic. And by now we have already established the fact that Yazid, Lanatullah alayh, may Allah curse him, had all the qualities of Satan. And that how Satan is the enemy of Ahlul Bayt, through the similarities we found between the Satan and Yazid, we were able to establish the fact. Quickly, I just want to give you like 3 of the similarities at this time. That how do we relate Yazid with Satan, and how we compare Yazid with Satan. Number 1, Satan doesn't believe on Prophet, and he refused to do the sajda to Prophet Adam. Yazid does not believe on prophethood. And he said like there is no revelation of any sort on Prophet Muhammad. So this is one of the similarity. Then Satan said that he would destroy the Prophet's descendants. We proved that in one of my previous majlis, I think I did before yesterday, through the Quranic verses. And Yazid started to kill and harm Prophet's descendants. So that's a second similarity. And Yazid like martyred descendants of our Holy Prophet, Imam Hussain and the family members of Imam Hussain, the descendants of the Prophet in Karbala. So that's a second similarity. Then there is a third similarity. Satan said that he will misguide Prophet's descendants. And Yazid misguided Prophet's descendants, when he used the tactics to misguide the Kufans and others by offering luxurious gifts and through fear and all that. So there are these 3 similarities. So allow me to say that Yazid is either a Satan's follower or maybe a Satan himself. So may Allah curse him forever. And definitely we all have cursed Yazid and Satan with the help of Quran a day before yesterday. And they will always be cursed. And may Allah curse the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, inshallah, in abundance. So, Mu'mineen, the Quran is absolutely amazing, with the help of which we were able to establish this fact. The Quran also curses the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. And as I see it, the Quran has only 2 topics. Either the Quran praises the Ahlul Bayt, or the Quran curses the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. So, and Ahlul Bayt, of course, they direct us and guide us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the miracle of the Quran, that it has so many topics in it, and yet it is either praising the Ahlul Bayt or cursing the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. Either. So, Mu'mineen, please recite aloud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Okay, Mu'mineen, so back to the topic. I was reading through the Quran the other day and I found this beautiful verse in Surah Al-Imran. Surah Al-Imran is the 3rd chapter of Quran, and the verse that I like is verse number 33. Very beautiful verse, and it has few names in it. And the verse says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna Allah astafa Adama wa Nuha wa ale Ibrahima wa ale Imrana alal alameen. The translation of this ayah, of this verse, is that truly Allah chose Adam and Noah and the descendants of Abraham and descendants of Imran above all mankind. I just want to contemplate on this verse a bit. The verse has a few names, and then these names are divided into three groups. For example, they are individual personalities in this verse. For example, we have Prophet Adam and Prophet Noah, and then we have the descendants of individual personalities of individual prophets. For example, the verse mentions the descendants of Prophet Abraham and the descendants of Prophet Imran. And then there is an individual personality or individual prophet, whose descendants are considered as above all mankind. So we have Prophet Adam and Noah with no descendants. Then we have Prophet Abraham and Prophet Imran with their descendants. And then we have Imran, not the prophet, of course. Then we have Imran with the descendants who have the descendants who are above all mankind. So, Mu'mineen, I want to find out, like, what is going on in this verse. I mean, why they only have, like, some prophet's name, and then, some other personalities whose names are mentioned. Some other personalities have descendants mentioned. And when we go through into the details, we realize that the word above all mankind is linked with the personality named Imran only. And this is a trend. There's some descendants are above all mankind, and if it is chosen for Ali Imran only, so we have to figure out, like, what does it mean? The descendants of Imran, they are above all mankind. And if this word, this word is used in this verse. If this word above all mankind is used for all the names mentioned in the verse, then why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeated the word descendant in it? And Allah repeated the word descendant only twice. We have Prophet Adam, Prophet Noah, Prophet Abraham, and Imran. We have 4 names, but Allah repeated the word descendants, the word al, twice. So that means if the word above all mankind or above all universe was meant for every single individual in this verse, then it should have been repeated with every single individual name mentioned in the verse. But since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had 4 names and used the word descendant or al twice with 2 names only, that means that above all mankind, if it was meant for other names, it would have been repeated with the other names as well. So the conclusion is that the word above all mankind is only meant for the personality named Imran. Please recite aloud salawat. And quickly, like, let's say if it were meant for other personalities as well, then the Prophet Adam name is also mentioned there. And then Prophet Adam has, like, all of us are his descendants, sort of. So if we are above everybody, then everyone is included, being above all mankind. So who is above who when everyone is included? So, that's the second logic. But so above all mankind was meant for the personality named Imran. So Imran is the personality whose descendant is above all mankind. This is the conclusion. Okay? Now we have to find out the descendant of Imran. Like, who are they? The descendants of Imran. And most importantly, which Imran Allah is referring to. which Imran Allah is referring to, we have to figure out, and then we can figure out like who are those descendants, you know. And when we look into the history of Islam, there are 3 Imrans who are popular in our history. And all the 3 are respectful, no doubt. All the 3 are respectful, and all the 3 are popular in our history. So which Imran is referred here? Whose children, family or descendant Allah has chosen? Muslims are still confused which Imran is this. So let's check out the names of descendants of all the 3 Imrans. I will name the children of all the 3 Imrans. So the first one, the first Imran we found in the history is the father of Prophet Moses. Okay, Prophet Moses, you know, I mean, so the descendants, it cannot be the descendants of Prophet Moses for a simple fact that the descendants of Prophet, most of the descendants, most of the children, most of the descendants of Prophet Moses are not Muslim. So if somebody who's not Muslim, you know, they cannot be above all mankind. It does not make sense. So that option is ruled out. And there are no prominent prophets in the descendants of Prophet Moses anyway, and the descendants are not Muslim anyway. So I mean, that option is absolutely ruled out. Who can be considered above all mankind or all universes? Now the second Imran is the father of Mary, you know, Hazrat Maryam. You know, we call her Maryam bint Imran. This is how we know her. Mother of Prophet Jesus. So the name of Mary bint Imran, you know, the father's name of the Mary is Imran, you know, so who's the mother of Prophet Jesus. And in history, the father of Mary only had one daughter, Mary. And Mary had one son, Prophet Jesus. And Prophet Jesus, according to the history record, that he didn't marry, and hence he had no children. So, so he does not have any descendants. So the first one had descendants who are not Muslim. You know, the father of Prophet Moses. He had descendants, but they are not Muslim, or majority of them are not Muslim or no prominent figures. Second Imran had no descendants, so that option is also ruled out. Now there is a third Imran, who is more properly known as Janabe Hazrat Abu Talib. Please recite aloud salawat. And he's the one with no descendants, and he's the one with a lot of individual personalities who are very popular and who have a lot of great statuses that we have found in the history of Islam. And Mominin, you know, at this point, I want to refer to the name of the surah before I proceed with the topic. The name of the surah is Ale Imran. You know, it's Ale Imran. Ale Imran, the descendants of Imran. Surah's name is not Imran. Allah revealed Ale Imran, not just Imran. So, I mean, it is our responsibility to find out who is this Al, who is the descendant. So we have, you know, come to the conclusion that the first 2 Imrans are not the ones who do not have descendants. The third one is the one, you know, who has the descendants. Please. So Mu'mineen, we have come to the conclusion now. So just by naming it as Ale Imran, Allah gave us a very clear direction that to search for the descendants of Imran with a clear status of the descendants that are above all mankind, above all universes. And notice the name. the name includes Janabi Imran himself. And this is how my Allah, He praises Hazrat Abu Talib والسلام, and his descendants. My Mawla Waka Ali ibn Abi Talib والسلام, and all the other 11 Imams are the descendants of Janabi Hazrat Abu Talib والسلام. Please recite aloud. So this is how Quran acknowledges them. We know our last prophet is included in Al-Bayt. As the prophet said that Allah, this is a saying of the prophet, that Allah created me, Muhammad, and Ali with the same divine light, the same divine nur. So Al-Bayt includes the prophet according to this hadith. So Mu'mineen, this is what the conclusion is, that this Ali Imran is the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring here are no one else but the descendants of Janabi Hazrat Abu Talib and his descendants, of course. I mean, these are the divine personalities. And they are not just praised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. They are not just praised by us. I mean, we, the Shias of Ali, are usually blamed that, you praise Mawla Ali a lot, and, there are a lot of other personalities, that you should have praised, but, you haven't praised him in your majlis. We just heard this majlis from yesterday or day before yesterday. And so, but I just want to bring in this point quickly, that it is not just one group of Muslims, who praise Imam Ali alayhi wasalam, but there are a lot of other personalities in the history that we have found praising Imam Ali alayhi wasalam and discussing the great status of Imam Ali alayhi wasalam. So when we talk about Mawla Ali, it is the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran. And everyone around the Prophet, they talked about Ali. Please recite aloud, salawat. So, Mu'mineen, it is not just us. When the companions of the Prophet, when there are other great personalities in Islam, when they talk about Ali, I mean, what can I do? When my fellow Muslim brothers, when wives of the prophets, when the companions of the Prophet, when they themselves praised Ali and talk about Ali, my Mawla Waka Ali, then according to this saying, which is equally accepted by both Shias and Sunnah, when the wife of our Prophet said that she heard our last Prophet saying that Zikr Ali is ibadah. I mean, this saying is also narrated by one of the wife of the Prophet. And it is well known, well accepted by all the groups, by all the sects of Islam, that talking, speaking, remembering our Mawla Ali is the ibadah. Meaning, remembrance of Ali, speaking about him is worship. This saying is very well accepted and very well known and is authentic by all the sects of Islam. And then at another point, the same wife of the Prophet, of our Holy Prophet, said that I saw my father gazing often at Ali's face. So I said to my father, "Oh, my father, I see you gazing often at Ali's face." He said, "Oh, my daughter, I heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say that looking at the face of Ali is worship. Deed Ali is ibadat. Looking at Mawla is ibadat. They are doing Zikr Ali, the remembrance of Ali." So let me ask you now, don't do it to follow the Shias. Don't do it just because Shias are doing it, but at least do it to follow as the Sunnah of the wife of the Prophet. Do it, just do it to follow as the Sunnah of the companions of the Prophet. Please recite aloud, salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
So my fellow Muslim brothers, remember Ali, talk about him. This is the Sunnah of the wives and companions of our Prophet as well. Mu'mineen, that this Surah Al Imran is praising Hazrat Abu Talib's descendant. And one great personality that we have found in the descendant of Hazrat Abu Talib is no one else but our Hazrat Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. And we also have the sons of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, Hazrat Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wassalam and Hazrat Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam, who are also the descendants of Janabe Hazrat Abu Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Please recite aloud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Well, there's some disturbances going on, so please excuse this. Anyway. So, Mu'mineen, Janabe Hazrat Ali, Hazrat Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam is the personality and descendant of Hazrat Abu Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. Hazrat Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Hazrat Imam Hussain alayhi salam are also the descendants of Janabe Hazrat Abu Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. And then no one else but our great Prince Qasim, the son of Mawla Hassan, is also his descendant. And Mu'mineen, tonight we are dedicating this majlis to our great Prince Qasim. You know, while talking about Qasim, there is an event of Mehndi in Karbala discussed. And there are different school of thoughts about Hazrat Qasim's Mehndi. You know, there is one school of thought that says that Mehndi is an Indian-Pakistani wedding cultural event and was never a part of Arabic culture. So they simply rule it out that it never happened. But then there is another group. And their ideology is that Imam Hussain alayhi salam wanted to prove that he is not there to fight. So he arranged this wedding ceremony in order to prove that he is here for, you know, for a peaceful reason, but not for a fight. So there are two different schools of thoughts. What do I think about it? How do I take it? I have a total different approach. You know, you can consider my approach as the third option. Now, my approach is that both of the school of thoughts are Azadare Hussain. Both of them are Azadare Hussain. And my question to them and my question to you and everyone is that talking about Mehndi and considering it as the event, does it make you cry? Does it bring you closer to the tragedy of Karbala? If it makes you cry and brings you closer to the tragedy of Karbala, then your answer is yes. Then be it. Then be it. Bring Hazrat Qasim's Mehndi out tonight and cry for our Prince Qasim. And Mu'mineen, please, there are a lot of people who express their grief in different ways. For example, I express my grief by talking about the Karbala incident. You expressed your grief by crying. And then all of us, we express our grief by doing matam. So there are different ways to express the grief of Karbala. And then there is another way to express the grief, and that is to express it through cultural ritual. Like we will do it after Urdu Majlis tonight. We're going to bring out the Hazrat Qasim's Mehndi tonight, inshallah, after the Majlis. So, Mu'mineen, yes, it all makes sense now. You can express your grief in different ways. And expressing your grief through your cultural ritual is also one of the ways. So, Mu'mineen, we have dedicated today the 7th of Muharram to our Prince Qasim. You know, Mu'mineen, Prince Qasim and all other children and everyone with Mawla Hussain is thirsty today. Today is the 7th of Muharram. And they all are thirsty. You know why? Because Umar Saad ordered to stop water from reaching Hussain. Umar Saab had stopped the water supply. Such a hot day in Karbala. Children's cry for water is loud. Al-Atash, Al-Atash. What a thirst, what a thirst. Prince Qasim is also thirsty. It makes me sad talking about Qasim. Some historians wrote on Ashura day, Maula Abbas and Ali Akbar were talking. Akbar said, Uncle Abbas, I will die first on my father. I will sacrifice myself first. Abbas is strongest and bravest of all, but when he heard Akbar sacrificing his life, shook a little, hugged Ali Akbar and said, if anything happens to you, Ali Akbar, my brother Hussein will lose his eyesight in your grief. When Ali Akbar heard of Uncle Abbas's sacrifice, he said, Uncle Abbas, if you leave Baba Hussein, if you leave, my Qasim, he said, Uncle Abbas, if you leave, Baba Hussein's back will be broken. 13-year-old orphan Qasim. Prince Qasim, my Qasim, when he overheard these dialogues, he anxiously came closer to Maula Abbas and Ali Akbar and said, Brother Ali Akbar, if you leave, Maula Hussein will lose his eyesight. Uncle Abbas, if you leave, he will break his back. So he said, I will go first. If I go, my Maula Hussein, my Uncle Hussein, he won't lose his eyesight and he won't break his back. Tragic situation. When Qasim said, by my death, Maula Hussein won't lose his eyesight or break his back. Maula Hussein heard this. Hussein ran towards Qasim and hugged him and cried and said, Qasim, you are dearer to me than Ali Akbar. Qasim, you are dearer to me, Ali Akbar. Qasim asked his uncle Hussein to grant him permission to fight. Hussein didn't accept it and said, Qasim, you remind me of my brother Hassan. You are so young. You are the only child of your mother. Qasim, I promised my brother to look after you, not to let you die. No, Qasim, no. I cannot allow you to die. Qasim, with a heavy heart, went to his mother to get him permission from Uncle Hussein. Qasim and his mother thought of a taweez. It's an amulet that is with Qasim, that is Father Hassan tied to his arm. Qasim opened the amulet and found a letter for Hussein. Brother Hassan's letter to his brother Hussein. Qasim was happy now. Happy to die for Hussein. Hussein. Happy to die for Hussein. Qasim brought the letter to Maula Hussein. Hussein read the letter from his brother Hassan. Hassan is asking Hussein to let his son Qasim sacrificed himself on Hussein. Hussein cried. Hussein cried and said, my Qasim, how can I stop you now? How can I stop you now? Hussein asked Zainab. Hussein asked Zainab to bring brother Hassan Samama and Kaba for Prince Qasim. Some historians wrote. Then Mullah Hussein read the Khutbah Nikah of Qasim. Qasim went to the battlefield. Qasim fought like a warrior and showed that he was a grandson of Ali and trained by Abbas. Alone Qasim is enough to fight off the filth of Yazid's army. Whoever from Yazid's army comes to fight with Prince Qasim gets killed. Eventually, someone from behind hit Qasim on the head with a sword. With this hit, Qasim fell from his horse. He fell from his horse and cried out for Uncle Hussein, for Uncle Abbas. Uncle, come quickly. Uncle, help me. Hussein and Abbas rushed to the battlefield. The enemies thought that Hussein and Abbas were coming to attack them. They got scared and confused. Horses ran from one side to the other. Horses ran over Qasim. Horses ran over Qasim and trampled his body. Hussein and Abbas were searching for Qasim. My Qasim, where are you, Qasim? Speak up to your uncle, Qasim. Qasim could not reply. Qasim had stopped breathing. When the enemies withdrew, what did Hussein see? Qasim was not in one piece. The horses had torn him to pieces. Qasim's body in pieces, scattered all over the hot land of Karbala. A lady in black chadar, crying and gathering small pieces of Qasim's body for Hussein to take them to Zainab. Ya Qasima! Ya Qasima! Ya Qasima! Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Lanatullah ala al-qawm al-kafir.